Hi there Army and multi-fandom friends, my name is Abby and funnily enough, today is actually aimed more at people not in K-pop fandoms and who don't really get it, which I know is a stupid demographic to hit, clearly, but in today's video I wanted to kind of talk about the K-pop phenomena and the fangirl phenomena and why, from my experiences, fandoms tend to be the way they are and the people in the fandoms tend to care as much as they do. So I'll probably end up explaining why the inside of my wardrobe looks like this, with Namjoon and J-Hope and Jin always watching me. I'll probably be doing makeup at the same time just to kind of keep me distracted, because sometimes I will go off in a daze and not realise. So I actually just got some new palettes from COLOURPOP. I got the pastel collection and then Go Coconuts. I think I'm going to use the purple palette today, inspired by Namjoon's recent beautiful purple dyed hair for the new comeback. Which, if you are not a K-pop stan and you're watching this, that might be very confusing to you. But yeah, that kind of brings me on to the topic of why we inject K-pop into every aspect of our life. I have K-pop all around me. I also have posters here. I'm currently working on a massive canvas that's BTS inspired, specifically Hoseok, and his style, which some people like to reference as Hobiecore. As a fan of anything, you obviously feel very passionate about who you follow. You follow them for a reason, be it you support what they stand for or you just like the art that they create. I know some people will sometimes separate the artist from the art. So we follow passionately, and the stereotype is that it's usually, you know, young girls, young teenagers, and they're only there for the looks. Which, in every case that I've seen, is not true. I am yet to meet a K-pop stan that is only there for the looks, and yes, it can happen. I know out there somewhere there will be people that will be like, oh, he's not attractive so I'm not following him, or she isn't the weight that I want her to be so I'm not gonna follow her. But as far as my personal experience, that's not the case. I remember when I first found K-pop, it was 5 years ago, and I had watched a Fine Bros video, a react video to K-pop, and I saw it and I was like, I've heard about this. At the time, the only like mainstream things to do with K-pop were like Gangnam Style. That was kind of the stereotype. So whenever you told anybody that you cared about K-pop or were even remotely interested in it, they would just use like Gangnam Style to silence you basically, and they still do to this day, but back then was when it first came out, so it was really, it was a big issue. I'd watched the Fine Bros video on K-pop and I've been hearing about it a lot, and I kind of caved and I was like, fine, I'm gonna work out what this is, why people are talking about it, what's the deal, what's going on. So from that Fine Bros video, I literally just typed in K-pop into the YouTube search bar, and it came up with some random person's playlist, and I was like, sure, that'll do. And the first group that played on that playlist was BTS, specifically the War of Hormone music video. And I watched that and I was like, this is pretty epic. Because, you know, there was dancing, there was a story, there was an aesthetic and a way of styling that was kind of different, because obviously I live in the UK, we all wear the same thing. You will get bullied if you are not wearing the same thing as everyone else. As sad as it is, it's just how it is. So when I saw the style, I was like, that's pretty rocking. Never seen that before. Because, you know, I was only young, 5 years ago, so I was like 12, 13 then. And I was just learning how to use the internet, because I come from a family that believes that, you know, you don't need the internet as soon as you're born. And then I started getting more into it. I wanted to learn their names. I was like, this is rocking, I'll find some more music, and then, you know, I'll learn their names and we'll see what happens. Obviously I didn't expect it to get to this point. But here we are. I remember at the beginning, to my family, I didn't talk about it for a while, to my friends, to anybody. Like, I didn't let anybody know that I was into K-pop or even interested, because you'll just be made fun of. That's just how it is. But it was thought to be like a phase, and I kind of thought that too. Whether it was because I'd been told to believe that by, you know, everybody around me saying it, and that's just what I went with, because, you know, I was only a child, and it was the first time I kind of had my own music taste. So I was really eager to, like, learn and kind of have my own thing. It was really confusing when I first got into it, because, you know, there were all these terms being thrown around. Oh, you don't know what anybody's talking about. I didn't even know what MV was. You know, the initials for music video. I didn't even know what MV was, and I googled it because I thought it was a company or something, and I was really confused why it was in every music video title. And then Google told me that I was basically stupid. And it was like, that stands for music video. You stupid little girl. But as time has gone on, and I learned BTS's names, and I learned other groups' names as well. I think EXO, because obviously BTS and EXO, especially back then, were kind of, at the time, that it was when BTS was just starting to get traction. So BTS and EXO were kind of on a very similar playing field. I learned their names, both BTS and EXO. And for whatever reason, the gods were smiling down upon me, and they said, BTS is your main group. And, you know, that's something that I've always stuck with. I've never really got into other groups the same way. I tried to when Monster X came out. I was all over that, and I tried to get into their names and stuff, and I didn't get any further than the names. I just couldn't do it. I'm not strong enough. I don't have enough brain power. Anybody who's like a multi-stan and can, like, shout out to you NCT girls. I don't know how you do it, love, but you do it, and I'm proud of you for doing it, because wow, that's a lot of names that I just couldn't do. Maybe I could now, like, but that's not a casual thing. If you're learning all them names and watching everything and content stanning, you're a powerful person, because I could not do it. But you get into it and you get sucked into all the jokes and you start making friends, and you're wondering how do you go from just learning their names to having your whole life be consumed. I have this, I have clothes, I have pin badges that are fan made, love my fan pin badges. I have a pin bag, and it's a massive Hope World bag. And it's full of BTS stuff. And I use it every day. I go to college with that bag, with the Hope World bag. The Hope World bag, it has keyrings on it. I have BT21 keyrings on every bag I own. All my clothes, my posters. I even want to paint my shoes. I want to DIY my shoes. All of my art. Everything. Even my schoolwork. I remember for my first written college project, the BTS UN speech had just happened, and Namjoon had just given his speech about, loving yourself and looking after the youth of today. And I wrote about it in my journalist project because I was like, I love what this speech stands for. It was very important for BTS and the community, but also just the K-pop community, because it was the UN. It was a big, big deal. So to have Namjoon there speaking, and saying, speaking up for the youth like they have been doing for years, but doing it in such a prestige place and getting so much respect from officials, it was really important to ARMY, to me, but also to the community in general. I think, even people who weren't exactly BTS stans were still really supportive and proud of what the message that was getting out, and also what it meant for other groups as well, because if BTS can speak at the UN, then what's to stop another K-pop group like NCT has been over the last couple of years, and Monster X as well, making their way into not only Western culture but important political parts where their voice gets to be heard and their point of view gets to be heard. That's a big thing for the entire community, not even just BTS supporters. It's in everywhere. My life is full of these things. One day I plan to get tattoos of the most beautiful moment in life era, which is this pink one up here, one of them. It's everywhere. Why? I'll tell you why. To a lot of people and fans of BTS and other groups, or just artists in general sometimes, they don't have a family the way that some people may have. I'm very lucky to have a good supportive family around me. And I've always been thankful for that. But some people don't. And to some people who are in that situation, BTS and groups are their family. Does it not make sense that when people are offending your family and coming after your family, that you try to defend them? So when you see, people on Twitter and all these fans going, you can't say that about them, they've tried so hard, they've done this much for the community, or like, let's take Namjoon for example, like a Namjoon person turning around and going, you can't say that about him, he's better than you and all this lot. Sometimes when they're saying that, it's because Namjoon might be the only person that they think understands them, which happens a lot in the ARMY community, particularly because the boys have always spoken up for the youth and for the people that are ignored. So that's a particular reason why you'll see a lot of minorities go towards BTS, and don't get me wrong, of course other groups have minorities in as well, but you see it very vocally on things like TikTok and Twitter. When you see the ARMY speak up, it's usually a minority, whether it's, you know, sexuality wise, whether it's like LGBT, or whether it's racially, because of their message. Because since day one they've been very outspoken about stop treating young people like they can't think. Stop treating others who aren't like you badly just because they aren't like you. And of course, you know, things have happened in the past that are born from ignorance, and we're talking a long time ago. But I think it's fair to say, after what they've done for communities across the globe, they have a very strong message that speaks to people, and they're defensive of it in the same way that they would be about other significant figures in history. If you think about maybe rights activists back in the day, what makes them any different from standing up and talking to what K-pop groups like BTS, like Namjoon and Sugar as well, is usually quite outspoken? What's the difference? Because they're famous, because they're idols, they're still conveying the same message, they're still speaking, they're still helping people. Why does it have to change the meaning because they're singers and dancers and rappers instead of just people that only do that? And I'm not talking down on people that are rights activists and it is their job to just talk about these issues and visit places and talk to people. But why is what they're doing any different from what the idols are doing just because they're idols? The message is still the same. What they're saying is still the same, and the impact is still the same. So why is it any different? And I think the message, at least for ARMY, is one of the biggest reasons. Besides, you know, of course they're very talented. But we hold their values and how they represent people very highly. It is very important to the community that they speak out about these things, and that's why when they do charity work, you know, Hosuk especially, he does a lot of donations, big charity donations for young women. You know, he donated those scholarships to the dance schools for young women who maybe come from troubled backgrounds or from poverty, things like that. And then you have Youngie, who's a big LGBT activist, whether it is slightly coded so us gays understand but the company doesn't. He is a big activist for the gays in terms of the gay community. It's them speaking out on issues like that and supporting women and LGBT in an environment that isn't really doing that, like, at all. It's really important. And that's why we defend them the way that we do. Because if someone turns around and says and discredits them and says, you know, really harmful things about them, saying that they don't do anything and they're using people for money and they don't care and they don't try, it can strike a nerve, because you're not just offending them, you're offending people with the same beliefs as them. But that's why a lot of people feel the way that they do. And that's why idols have a strong hold on us emotionally in terms of support. I know for me personally, Namjoon, and this may not be healthy, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I remember being in a car journey once. It was a really long one, 2-3 hours, and we'd gone to visit some family down south, and we was on the way back and it was like midnight, and I remember sitting in the car and looking out the car window and thinking Namjoon would want me to just chill out and look at the stars. Just appreciate my life and to just take a breather, look out the window and look at the night sky. And I tell you what, it is the most peaceful and beautiful sight I've ever seen. Because we were in a place where there was no light pollution. The stars were so bright in this dark sky. And if Namjoon had not been in my life, even though it's small, it's moments like that that I think about when I'm trying to think about what life is all about. What's the point? What makes me happy? What's the good in the world? It's those moments where I think, what would Namjoon want me to do? I'll have a look at the night sky, and what happens? A shooting star comes across. That happened once whilst I was listening to Microcosmos. Not to flex, I cried. But it's little influences like that, or in emotional situations. Something will happen, I'll be having a hard time, there'll be a problem with college, or a relationship will start breaking down, and I'll think, what would Namjoon want me to do? You know when they say, what would Jesus do? What would Namjoon do? I remember I was in this relationship and I found out some information and it was not good. And I thought to myself, I can stay in this relationship and plead ignorance, or I can do what Namjoon would probably want me to do, which is, I don't need no man my way out of there. Because it was not a good situation. And then a couple of months later, boy did I see some true colours, and it turns out Namjoon was right. I got my ass out of there, and I did it because over the past couple of years I have found self-worth through the boys and thinking they wouldn't want me to feel this way. You know, you look in the mirror and you're like, my face is a bit wonky. Well, the boys wouldn't want me to think that way. I have an eye, I think it's this one. I have an eye that closes all the way and another one that won't. So unless I'm like fully closing my eyes, one of my eyes will be slightly open. And I think it's well dodged. I'll be honest. I see it and I'm like, what is that? The boys wouldn't want me thinking that way. When I smile, my eyes disappear. They go into little crescents, and then when I first noticed that, I was like, oh, I don't really like that. But then I remembered that Jimin's eyes do the same thing, and Namjoon's do too. When he smiles, his cheeks are so big, his eyes close into little crescents, and you can't see his eyes. He can't see when he smiles a lot. And I've always found that really cute. I've always been like, wow, that's adorable. But when I saw it on myself, I didn't like it. But that's not because I don't like that feature, it's because I don't like that it's on me. I don't like me. It's a self-esteem thing. And when I realised that and was like, well, I like it on Jimin, so what's wrong with it being on me? I like it on me too. I'm hip, I'm cool. And it's times like that when your whole mood can be flipped and your whole perspective of yourself can change just because you say, well, I know that the people around me, or even the people not around me, wouldn't want me thinking like that. They wouldn't want me to live a life where I don't like me, or I judge people a certain way. I think I've become a lot more forgiving and judgmental of people as well. It's very important to have that kind of influence in your life, whether it comes from your family or your friends or workplace, or things like idols and artists and actors and film directors, whatever it is, you will get passionate about it. And because of the reasons I've said, it changes people's lives. And that's why I don't think it should be taken lightly. Because it really does. There are literally stories of people saying, if I hadn't made eye contact with one of my posters, then I could be dead right now. It can seriously save someone's life. And I know people say that a lot, but it can genuinely save people's lives. How crazy is that? And you know, I didn't know that getting into this. Of course, you know, who would know that? Who would think, oh, I'll learn about this artist, and then 5 years down the line be like, well, thanks to them I'm not dead now. Nobody assumes that going in. But looking back, it's pretty lit. And I'm glad that we get to have people in our lives, whether they're physically in them or not, that can improve them in such a healthy way. I am living way better and way healthier and way happier, and have so much more self-love and appreciation than I did before I knew about BTS. Whether it's because I'm older or whether it's because I found BTS, I think it's probably a mix of both. But I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today without them. And that's why people care so much. So that has been a long rant. And I forgot about, well, I don't forget, but I didn't do makeup through half of it. But I'm gonna go finish off this mess. And then we'll come back for final thoughts. Hi guys, so I'm back. I've done my face. I've put some hair on because my real hair is tragic. So this is the result. I'll link all the makeup and where I got this hair and stuff down in the description, just in case you're curious. I used the Lilac Alot palette and the Sailor Moon X COLOURPOP collaboration and things like that, so that'll all be down in the description. But just to sum up what I've been talking about today, fans care about their favourite bands because to them they are their family, and they might be getting across a message that they feel that they don't have the voice to portray themselves. So they're glad that someone's just speaking up for them and getting their opinion out there, because especially like I talked about, for minorities it's very difficult. So to have someone with a massive platform who's selling out stadiums to say what you want the world to hear, it's very important. And I think that's why people need to be more accepting of this craziness, because there is a method to the madness, I promise. If you enjoyed today's video, if you found it informative, or if you have some different perspectives, maybe you think I'm wrong, who knows, or maybe you have experiences like what I've talked about, I'd love to hear that in the comments down below. But for more BTS and just fan related content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you liked what I was saying today, like the video. If you didn't, then don't like the video. And have a beautiful day. Bye bye.